Hey, everybody. My name is Johnny Levy, and I'm the author of the Superpower Quest, which is a framework, and it's a book and a framework for deep self discovery. And I decided I'm just going to take a minute to speak about the Superpower Quest from my guts without a lot of structure or a script. And so the first thing I'll say is I've learned that people don't really care about what you teach until they care about who you are or until they know who you are. I know that's been true in my life. And so I'm going to take an opportunity to give you a little bit of insight into my heart and who I am and my story. And my story starts with a memory. I have this memory of myself. I'm 15 or 16 years old. I live in Denver. Actually, I'm in Aurora, Colorado. I live close to Colfax, and it's a picture of myself on a bus bench. So I'm on a bus bench. It's very early in the morning, like still dark. So I don't know, 5 in the morning, something like that. I'm taking the city bus to high school because I've been asked to leave. My original house was in Park Hill. I live with my mom. I got asked to leave my house in Park Hill, and so now I'm living in Aurora with my dad. My life's just been through this pretty large upheaval, um, and I'm trying to process that. And it's the middle of winter, man. It's so cold. It's dark. I'm sitting at a bus bench. I didn't want to change schools, so I'm taking this massive commute where I have to take the city bus to and from, my high school, every day. It's like a 45-minute or an hour bus trip every day to go to school, East High School. And I'm sitting there, and it's just, I can see my breath, right? Like it's like deep middle of winter. I can see my breath. And it's like so cold that I can feel my nose hairs, like my nose hairs are crackling, like they're getting frozen over with ice. You ever felt that before? That's a part of that memory. And I'm alone. I'm sitting on that bus bench and I'm alone and it's dark, and I've just been through, one of the biggest disruptions of my entire life. And, I don't really belong anywhere. There's a loneliness, there's a deep insecurity, and I don't even have language for all these things. I don't even have words for all the things that I'm feeling. And I don't really have anybody to walk me through the complexity of the life that I'm in. And I think to myself now, looking back at that kid, right? Looking back at that young man and everything he's going through, and I think to myself now, man, what if there had been somebody, right? Um, I like to talk about the proverbial upperclassman, right? The person, you're a freshman and you don't know anything. You're gangly and you're awkward and you just showed up for high school. Man, what would it have meant to you if a senior who's confident and smart and popular and knows the ropes were to just come and throw an arm around you and say, "Man, I see potential," and authentically, right? Authentically, no agenda, just, man, I see some potential in you. I see some potential in you. Look, come with me, man. I'm gonna show you the ropes. I'm gonna introduce you to some people. I'm gonna try to help you to thrive here because I see something in you, and I think there's maybe some greatness inside of you, and I want to try to cultivate that. I want to try to cultivate that with you. What would that have meant to you, right? Like I think about myself, and freshman year in high school, and you know, again, everything that's going on in my life, what it would have meant to me, and so fast forward through my life at different points in my life, maybe not when I originally would have wanted that or needed that, but at different points in my life, people did come and throw the arm around me, right? People did come and invest in my life. People did notice the gifting and begin to speak the gifting that was inside of me. Um, and that was significant and profound, right? That impact. And so, if you ask me what's the engine that's driving me, like why did I write this book, The Superpower Quest? Who am I speaking to with the book, The Superpower Quest? I'm talking to that kid. I'm talking to that 15-year-old kid on that bus bench, or any version of that kid, whether child or adult, that exists in the world, who has a longing, right? Like, man, I do want to have a big, beautiful life. Like, I do want to fly. I do want to learn who and what I am. Um, I do want to press into greatness in whatever way that looks like for me. Like, that's who I'm talking to, right? Like, I want to be the person that 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid needed to come and throw the arm around and to say, hey, let's notice some things. Let's understand some things. I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to bring you forward. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you flourish. And so just some practical parts of my journey. There was a point, I'm getting on 50 now, but there was a point, I don't know, decades ago, um, when I encountered my first personality assessment, which was called Lion, Otter, Beaver, Golden Retriever. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's these different personas that basically classify human personality. And these things are not perfect. They're just intended to create a language for you to start exploring yourself and who you are and what you're the best at. I'll tell you, it was revolutionary, man, for me when I took that, because, I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me. I grew up thinking that I was defective and damaged, right? Because I was kind of a creative kid and I was kind of a sensitive kid. And, in my neighborhood where I grew up, the currency was dominance and violence and action. And I wasn't that kind of kid. There was no, I didn't have the ability or desire to dominate other people. Um, and again, like there's more complexity to that story, but the kind of the native currency of my neighborhood, I did not really have. And so I grew up thinking, okay, a real man is this. A real man is violent. A real man is decisive. A real man is strong. A real man is dominant, and can physically and emotionally and mentally dominate other people. Right. That was kind of my standard for what it meant to be a man or what it meant to be successful. And when I plotted myself against that graph, I was like, oh, okay, you're basically destined for a life of eternal failure and disappointment because you don't have that stuff. I had creativity. I was an artist. I like to draw. I was good with words. I like to write. I was sensitive. I wanted to connect with people and all these things. And growing up, I couldn't find a place for that person. But through course of time, and then like taking the personality assessment, I remember having this aha moment when I took it, because I thought, lion, otter, beaver, golden retriever. I was like, okay, well, I need to be a lion, right? Because men are supposed to be lions, and the lion in that personality framework is the type A dominant, um, you know, action oriented driver, and lions are great, right? Like healthy lions are amazing. And I take this personality assessment, and I come out as the playful otter. I'm an otter, and otters are playful, and in that framework, they're inspirational, they're gregarious, they like to be with people, they like to play, they like to play, they like to have fun. Uh, and I remember taking that assessment, seeing my results, and saying, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay to just be different. Maybe I've been plotting myself against the wrong standard. And that my journey and the mentors that I've had along the way and the different people that have invested in me along the way, and then encountering personality assessment, were all a part of the stew that gave rise to me wanting to write a book to accelerate that process of self-discovery, for other people and for that 15-year-old kid on a bus bench, in the cold. And what I found, you know, writing the book, I'll tell you what, when you write a book, the first person that gets impacted is you, right? Because you now are digging into these ideas and you're kind of living and breathing these ideas, and you're doing something extremely hard. Writing a book is very hard. And And but it's like it gets worked into you that level deeper. And so it got worked into me, right? Like this idea that there's greatness inside of all of us. There is a kind of peculiar greatness inside of you. And you know something of it. Everybody knows a little, some amount of that. And there's an instinct, right? Like sometimes you do things instinctively that lead to better results than other things that you do. Or you do things instinctively that create more value in the world than other things that you do. Um, but as long as it remains instinctive, it's hard to leverage it, right? It's hard to make it repeatable on not just on the weekly basis or even the daily basis, but to make it like something that you do constantly, that you're constantly doing the things that you're the most geared to do, that bring you the most joy, that bring the most value and effectiveness into the world, and that frankly feel the most effortless for you. I think a lot of us live in friction with our design. And so that's basically the premise of the book, is that a lot of people live in friction with their design. But you will increase your joy, effectiveness, and a sense of effortlessness if you can put language to your unique superpower, that unique kind of greatness that lives inside of you. If you can name it, now you can start to press into it. Now you can start looking for opportunities to exercise that gift for your own joy and the benefit of the people around you. And so I'm living this. I'm living into this, right? Like me writing this book is a part of my superpower. My superpower is authentic connection for mutual progress. All this, you'll understand this a little bit more once you're actually exposed to the framework if you haven't been. But I am a connector dreamer, right? So connector dreamer. Connector means, man, I go into 7-Eleven and I leave with a friend. I go to a kid's school function and I leave with a friend. People tell me things all the time, deep things, profound things that they don't tell everybody else. I lead with vulnerability. I invite people. That's the connector. The dreamer is I am big picture. I see the mountaintop. I'm an abstract thinker. I'm creative. I love to dream. I love to build mental castles of imagination in my mind. I love to talk with people about big ideas. And I'm much lower on, let's say, the achiever and the organizer. Those come harder for me. Those are more in my hindering drive or my hindering hero types. And then my core drive is harmony. What I care most about is people getting along, people thriving in relationship. I'm a peacemaker that way. So I've learned that. And then if you kind of go down the ladder into the deeper places, my actual superpower statement, which the goal of the book is for everybody to have a superpower statement, which is just a one sentence, handful of words articulation of one of your superpowers that you can just press into for the rest of your life. And mine is authentic connection for mutual progress. Authentic connection for mutual progress. That's what gets me excited in the morning. That's why I love doing my Superpower Quest and my Super Workplaces workshops, because all I want to do is connect with people authentically and move people forward into a life of greater joy, greater impact, greater effectiveness, and greater effortlessness. That's what I want to do, and then I want to see people joining forces with each other based on their unique superpower. Like I want you to understand yourself better than you ever have. I want you to understand your design. I want you to understand. I want you to be able to press into your strengths with all of your might. And then I want you to have grace for your weaknesses, like understanding that we all have strengths and weaknesses. And I think we end up in this relationship with our weakness where we just want to kill our weaknesses and we despise our weaknesses and we hate our weaknesses. And that's usually because somebody else said something about our weaknesses or named us in our weakness. And I think we all know the voices that we have in our heads that condemn and criticize us for our weakness, and so then our response is we hate it, and we have a relationship of hate, and we're oppositional within our own selves, right? Like, oh, why did I do that? I can't believe I messed up that way again, and you're so hard on yourself, and it's like, gosh, man, if you understand your superpower and you understand your kryptonite, right, then you can start to live in harmony with your design, which is like, all right, maybe Johnny, like I told you, my superpower, um, probably data entry isn't the job for me, right? I'm gonna be a very frustrated data entry person, right? And data entry is great and respectable and good and important and needed, right? But don't put me there because I will fail myself and I'll fail you because that's just square in my kryptonite, right? And so I've learned to accept that about myself. Um, which empowers me. Then we've all got to work in our weaknesses and we've all got to do things we don't want to do, but more and more what we try to do is angle into our areas of strength and impact, our superpowers. And yes, we're going to manage and steward our weaknesses well. Yes, we're going to do some work on our weaknesses, but you're going to experience much more momentum and progress in your life if you can identify um, that part of you, the functions that arise naturally from the way that you're designed, the way that you're built. And so that's the Superpower Quest. And so I invite you to join me on this journey. It's a journey, it's a multi phase journey. It's, for me, a lifelong journey. I'm still learning more things about myself and the way that I work and the way that I don't work. And then I'm continually making those micro choices, right? Those little choices day by day that angle me more and more towards that place of effectiveness. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, what is the thing that you do that when you're doing it, it's just like you feel like, dang, I was meant to do this. I was meant to do this. Or, the results people say, wow, when you do that, it really creates value in the world. It really creates value for me. Like, thank you. It's your community will also help you understand those things. But I want you to be able to articulate this. I want you to be able to put it into words. I want you to be able to see it on paper and have it staring back at you. And then I want you to feel empowered to do more, I want you to feel empowered to fly, right? And very few of us, and I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen people around you that are just so comfortable in their own skin. They know who they are. They know why they're here. They know what they're doing, and they're doing it with all of their might. And I think more of us can have that experience in life, and I think very few of us do. And so, if there's a longing in you for if you there's a longing for greatness, there's a sense of maybe wasted potential or frustrated potential. um, this is the journey for you, right? And some people feel that on a very high degree. Some people feel it on a smaller degree, but um, a lot of us feel that. A lot of us feel that. And this is an invitation into a journey and a process to begin working more and more in your area of superpower and less in your areas of kryptonite. So thanks for listening. I'm looking forward. Many of you who are seeing this, I may actually get to know you in person at some point. For people that are taking the survey and learning these things about themselves, I love learning more and more about you and about your journey, because a big part of why I'm here on this earth is to help people on that journey. And so I just wish you the best. I wish you thriving. If you ask me, Johnny, what's your dream? What's your dream? My dream is to impact millions of people with this message of understanding and cooperating with your design, and moving away from so much friction where you're just working against your design and just trying to force yourself like a square peg into a round hole, like less and less, and just more and more of, man, I'm just swinging for the fences. I'm flying high today. Like I'm finding more and more that sense of joy, that sense of effectiveness, um, that sense of, man, when I do this, it creates a multiplied result. That's so cool. Just more of that feeling amongst people in the world. So again, I'm Johnny Levy, telling you a little bit about the Superpower Quest, and can't wait to engage with you more. Have a wonderful day.